Hey there, this is Karen and I'm your instructor for today's Art Lesson Crate. Thank you for coming today. Today's lesson is a really fun one. It's Kermit the Frog. He was created by Jim Henson and he is a Muppet. He is kind of the leader of the Muppets. There are many others. My personal favorite is Beaker, but I decided today's lesson would be a good one. It's basic shapes. There's a little bit of color blending and I think it'll be a fun one to paint. For this lesson, we're going to need our paints, our canvas, a pencil, and then outside things that you're going to need is a napkin and a water source. I have a cup that is filled halfway with water. Oh, and you also need your paintbrush. Before we get started, I'm going to go over what a paintbrush is. It is basically wood or some form of a hard substance. Sometimes you can get metal ones or aluminum ones. I like the wood ones. This is a barrel, which is metal. And these are your bristles. Bristles can come in a variety of forms. They can be human hair, horse hair, animal, any kind of animal hair. You can also get synthetic. These are synthetic, which means that they are made from non-living animals. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So let's clear away our spot, and we're going to start with the sketching. Okay, so I have my canvas up and down, which is also called portrait or vertical. Up and down, it means the long sides are on the side, the short sides are on top and bottom. Now we want to basically figure out where we want his head to start with. You want to sketch, don't draw. Sketching means that you're not pushing hard. If you push hard, especially on a canvas, a couple of things can happen. You can either make a hole in your canvas because you might have a sharp pencil, or you will get a point where you need to erase and it'll have a shadow, a ghost line that won't erase because it embeds down into the fibers of the canvas. So make sure that you draw very, very softly, and we'll go ahead and get started. Now Kermit's head is not a circle, but we're going to go ahead and sketch in a circle. That way we can have an idea of where to put him. So if you have a hard time being soft on your pencil, if you're a very heavy pusher, do like I do. Put your hand to the very back of your pencil and lift a few fingers. By lifting those fingers, you're causing your pencil not to have a lot of pressure on it. If you had all of your fingers on it, it's a lot of pressure, especially if you put it really up close towards the lead. So I like to put mine higher up, lift up my fingers, and go ahead and sketch an oval or circle that's going to be pretty much where his head is going to be. And then we're going to do where his arms are coming out on both sides. Right now you've basically drawn the basic form of Baymax. If you wanted to create him into a Baymax, you would add a circle and a circle, connect it with a line, and then maybe a couple puffed out arms. But we're not doing Baymax today, we are doing Kermit. So let's go ahead and put in the center of his head, which is his smile. So a nice, large smile. Now his smile actually kind of comes to a point. So we're going to think of like a V, but then puff it out a little. So we're going to puff out our V here, puff out our V here. Now whoops, I kind of got caught up in my canvas. It's a little crooked. So if you touch the chin or even below the chin of your basic circle, that's okay, because that basic circle is our guideline. It's not what we're going to be using as our basic shape of the face. It's just a guide. So let's draw in the cheek here and a cheek here, and where they meet, curve it. And we're going to go ahead and skip on up to the eyes. The eyes, they're going to be more towards the sides, almost as if you took the little center of your mouth and did a straight line up and made a V. Do an angled smile and an angled smile. Semicircle above, semicircle above. And inside of that semicircle, You want a long oval, semicircle, semicircle. Let's do it on this side. A long oval, semicircle, semicircle. Now let's go ahead and draw in the rest of the head. We're going to come from the cheek, slightly curve it up. And when you hit the eye, stop. Don't go through the eye because the eye is not see-through. There you are. And in between, you're going to connect it with the dome. Now I'm looking at this and I'm finding that I think that the eyes are a little too small. I think they need to be brought in a little. And this is why it's important to sketch, not draw. That way you can enlarge. I think they need to be larger. This is your chance to make any adjustments needed before you actually put pen to the paper or paint to the paper. Now I'm thinking I'm going to slide this over a touch. I think that looks a little bit better. All right, inside the mouth, a big smile. That's going to be his tongue. And now we're going to make his collar. It's a basic shape of V's that go to a point, but they can kind of have a little fun with them. Swirl up a little bit. 1, 2, maybe a few going down. I like to have the last ones on the edge flip up. We'll add his arms now. Arm, arm, stomach. Now here we have a spot where we can just add his stomach without actually going up into the collar. Finish the arms off. And there's our very basic Kermit the Frog. He's kind of cute, huh? Now, he doesn't quite look like Kermit yet because we haven't added our colors. So we're going to go ahead and put our pencil away and get started with our colors. Now, here's the point where you can decide if you would like to Sharpie him or not. Now, in your kit, you got a fine line Sharpie. You can do this if you want. Outline the whole thing. Just remember that anything that you Sharpie on this canvas is never coming off. It's permanent. So if you don't like the look of Sharpie, don't do it. Now he is a cartoon character. Cartoon characters very often are outlined in black. So if you like that, go ahead and do it. All right, I'm going to finish doing this. I want you to finish outlining if you are. If not, just sit tight and I'm going to pause and finish outlining. All right, now you're going to notice that my black lines are a little thick. I did thicken them up with the Sharpie. I felt like just the single one line was a little too thin, so I thickened them. If you have a regular Sharpie permanent marker, you can also use that as well. So now it's time to get painting. The paints that we are using are washable, so if it gets on your clothes, it's not the end of the world. These, I mean, I don't recommend it, but it's not going to stain per se. But to play it safe, if you feel you need an apron or something, feel free to pause the video and get one. Now you're going to notice in the sample here that the background is red and he is green. Now there's a very real reason that you would do something like that. They're called complementary colors. They complement each other. Red and green look excellent together. Now red and green mixed together as a paint make brown. But if you had a red wall and you wanted to pop out your furniture, you wanted it to really stand out, you would maybe get a green couch or vice versa. Now same thing with orange and blue. And the same thing with yellow and purple. So, all right, we're going to get started. You do not have to do the red. I'm going to do it because it is the sample, but you don't have to. Now, these are wonderful little containers. They're self-closed, and you don't have to open up the whole strip at the same time, which is good because you don't want them to dry out. I have paint only going halfway up my bristles. I'm going to come in and I'm going to just gently paint. You're going to notice that your paint is a little bit see-through. If you want a more solid, dark red, once this layer has dried, you will dry it, or you will paint another layer. If you get paint someplace you don't want it to go, watch what I do. Let's say, oh, la, 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 I'm painting. Oh, whoops. I don't want that there. I'm going to take my water. I'm going to clean off my brush. I'm going to drag it along the inside of my cup. I'm going to come over here, wet the spot that I oopsed. Take a little piece of napkin and wipe it. And there you go. So the intimidation factor is gone because if you mess up, you can fix it. So that means you can just have fun. Now when you change colors, you're going to do the same thing that I showed you with the cleaning off the brush and the water. Stir it up like it's chocolate milk. Drag it up the side. And then you're going to come to your napkin and you're going to gently drag it. And that's how you clean your brush. Don't do this. You give your brush a bad hair day. It looks like me in the morning. All right, so I'm going to continue painting. I would like for you to paint your background, and then we're going to get back together in just a minute. You are more than welcome to paint the sides, your edges. They have not been stapled, therefore they can be painted. If you paint your sides, it's called gallery wrapping, and that means that you don't have to frame it when you're done. It's a really good thing to do. Now you don't have to paint the sides the red either. You can paint them a different color. You can stripe them. You can polka dot them, however you want to do it. All right, so I'm gonna pause the video. You go ahead and pause your video, finish painting your background, and we're gonna get back together and work on Kermit. All right, so now we also have red for inside the mouth. I'm gonna do the exact same red on the inside of his mouth. I'm not gonna worry too much about his tongue because that is also red, but I'm going to lighten that red up a little bit. I'll come around. In fact, you can paint in the tongue. All right, now we got to be a little bit quick with this because we want to add some different colors. We want to tint and shade. Let's start off by tinting. Tinting is adding white. Now I'm going to gently dip my brush into my white. I don't want to get a bunch of white inside of my red inside of my white. But I'm going to add a touch of that white to my red. It's very subtle, but it does make it kind of pink. Close that up. Open your black. Barely any black on your brush. Come on in the corners. Put a little bit in that corner, a little bit in that corner. Wipe off your brush and start dragging it in. See how that darkened up the corners where there would be shadow inside of his mouth? Pretty easy, pretty simple. Close it up. And it's time to work on the eyes. Clean off your brush really, really well. You don't want any red in that brush because if you do, you're going to have pink eyes, and that's not a good thing. Once you have your brush nice and clean, dip it in your white and go ahead and fill it in. Why am I painting white eyes white? Because the canvas has been primed, and a primed canvas is not guaranteed a crisp white. It could be kind of a grayish color. There could be a stain on it. It's just always better to do a nice white on top of white when you need white. Got it? Okay, clean off your brush. And now we have our 3 colors that we're going to use for the remainder of our little dude. We have dark green, we have light green, and we have yellow. Let's start with our dark green. Clean up your brush, dry it. Come on in, dip it in your green, and start adding dark green. The whole picture. Now I'm going to go ahead and paint his head and his body with this dark green. I am not painting his collar with this dark green. I'm going to pause the video. You go ahead and pause the video. Paint his whole body with the dark green, and we'll get back together. Okay, so I have done the dark green. I'm now going to come in to my light green and add a little bit of a shadow or a highlight on one side of his cheek. And I'm going to blend it in. Just a little bit. Put a little bit of that over on the arm. It's pretty much wherever the sun would hit, you want that to be a little bit lighter. So if you do it on the left side of his face, it needs to be on the left side of every body part. So left side of every arm, his belly. You can even put a little bit over here. Now we're going to go to the shade part. Take a little bit of your black. I'm not even going to clean my brush. It's not necessary. Take a touch of black on your brush. We're going to come over here and add a shadow to this side of the face. Now how do I make it to where I don't have any brush marks? Well, it takes practice and a very soft touch. If you have a brush stroke and you don't like it, constantly run your brush over it gently, gently, and the brush stroke will eventually go away. Put a little bit up here, because we got a little shadow from the eye. Because remember, the sun's hitting it from here, so it'll be shadow over here. A little bit of shadow. Yep. And let's shadow the bottom now. A little bit over here. Goes up to his armpit, curves out. A little bit on the edge of the arm, a little bit over here. Not too much, but just a little. I'm going to go up into this because this collar is laying over his body. And if it's laying over his body, it's going to cause a shadow. So we need to shadow the collar. Now, we have shadow on the right side of everything. So the right side of whatever is paintable. What do I mean by that? Well, I'm not going to shadow my background because this is not covering the background, but it is covering his body. So let's add a little bit of shadow on each one of these. If it's too dark, do like I do. I use my finger. There you are. Very good. A little bit over here. A little shadow over here on his arm. I think he looks good. Clean off your brush because you have black on it. Switch over here to your yellow. Clean the brush. Drag it. And we're going to paint the whole collar yellow. I'm going to pause the video while we do this, and then we're going to get back with the details. Alright, so the next part that we're going to do is adding some shadow to the yellow. So close up your yellow, switch over to your light green, and on the right side, remember, right side is shadow, we want to put a little bit of this light green. You know what? I'm noticing it doesn't show up very well. So I'm going to say let's skip the light green. Let's switch to a dark green. I think because it's a transparent based color, it's just not going to show very well. Yeah, that's much better. A little bit of green on each collar. A little bit on each. And then we need some shadow on the right side of his chin. The last thing that we're going to do on our Mr. Kermit are his eyeballs. I'm going to wipe this off on my napkin. I'm not going to worry about cleaning it because black pretty much covers everything. So if you have paint on your brush, it's okay. All right, so black on your eyes. Now this part may take a second coat. It is transparent, and when you put transparent black on top of white, it makes it look kind of gray. So you can darken it if you feel the need. You could also use a Sharpie. The last thing we do as an artist is always, always, always sign your artwork. And there you have your really adorable Kermit the Frog. Thank you so much for joining me for today's lesson. I look forward to doing our next one with you real soon. Thank you and have a great day.